I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Your brain is processing the entire day right now, sorting stress, filing worries, deciding what stays and what fades. Tonight, you'll discover why anxiety follows you into sleep and understand how dreams might be your mind's most powerful healing tool. Welcome to Get Sleepy Science. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your brain quietly repairs itself, clearing the day's tension, preparing for tomorrow's calm. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about stress and dreams, from the moment worry becomes a nightmare, to how your sleeping mind rehearses solutions, to the bridge between anxiety and the peace that follows. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. Your gentle support, a like, subscribe, or a quiet share, creates a pathway for more seekers to discover and brings us closer to protecting this sanctuary for every tired mind who finds their way here. One peaceful night, one sleepy soul at a time. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. You wake up with your heart racing, sheets tangled, the nightmare still vivid. A work deadline morphed into missing a flight, which became losing your teeth, which dissolved into that familiar sensation of falling. Within minutes, the details fade, but the anxiety lingers like morning fog. This experience touches nearly every sleeper, weaving through countless nights across the world. Studies from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine in 2025 show that 75% of adults report stress-themed dreams at least once per week, with rates climbing to 85% during periods of high life stress. Your nighttime mind isn't malfunctioning when it replays your worries in bizarre, symbolic form. It's working exactly as evolution designed it, processing threats, rehearsing responses, and attempting to integrate the emotional residue of your waking hours into something your psyche can manage. Stress doesn't simply vanish when you close your eyes. Your daytime worries follow you into sleep because your brain continues working on unresolved problems throughout the night. Neuroscientists at MIT published findings in late 2024 showing that the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, remains highly active during REM sleep, specifically replaying emotionally charged events from the previous 48 hours. The more stressful your day, the more your sleeping brain rehearses those moments, trying to find patterns, solutions, or simply process the emotional weight. Think of it as your mind's overnight filing system, sorting through the day's paperwork and deciding what needs immediate attention, what can be archived, and what might contain lessons worth remembering. Sometimes, that filing system creates strange narratives we call dreams. Dreams themselves are a relatively recent focus of sleep science, but their connection to stress has been recognized across cultures for millennia. Ancient Egyptians believed dreams were messages requiring interpretation. Freud thought they revealed hidden desires. Modern neuroscience, however, offers a more practical explanation grounded in brain chemistry and survival instincts. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience in early 2025 demonstrates that REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming occurs, shows heightened activity in the amygdala, your brain's emotional alarm system. When you're stressed during waking hours, your amygdala becomes hyperactive, flagging more situations as potentially threatening. That heightened sensitivity doesn't shut off at bedtime. Instead, it influences which memories get replayed, which emotions get processed, and ultimately, what themes dominate your dreams. Stress primes your brain to dream about stress. Your body produces a stress hormone called cortisol that follows a natural daily rhythm. Normally, cortisol levels drop measurably in the evening, reaching their lowest point around midnight, then gradually rising toward morning to help you wake up. But chronic stress disrupts this rhythm. Studies from the National Institutes of Health in 2025 found that people experiencing prolonged stress maintain elevated cortisol levels well into the night, sometimes never reaching the deep drop needed for restorative sleep. High nighttime cortisol keeps your nervous system in a state of mild alert, making it harder to fall asleep, more likely to wake during the night, and noticeably more prone to anxiety dreams. Your body, still flooded with stress signals, interprets the world, even the dream world, as potentially dangerous. When you're anxious, your sleep architecture changes. Sleep isn't just one state. It cycles through distinct stages, each serving different functions. Non-REM stages 1 through 3 provide physical restoration, memory consolidation, and cellular repair. REM sleep, the stage associated with vivid dreams, handles emotional processing and creative problem solving. Research published in Nature Neuroscience in mid-2025 shows that stressed individuals spend disproportionately more time in lighter sleep stages and experience fragmented REM cycles. Your brain keeps pulling you toward wakefulness, vigilant against perceived threats. When REM sleep does occur, it's often intense and emotionally charged because your brain is attempting to process a backlog of unresolved emotional material in shortened windows. The result: more frequent, more vivid, more stressful dreams packed into less actual dreaming time. Not all stress dreams are nightmares. Though there's an important distinction. Nightmares are intensely distressing dreams that often wake you up, leaving you with a racing heart and clear memory of the content. Stress dreams, by contrast, might be uncomfortable, frustrating, or anxiety-provoking, but don't necessarily reach nightmare intensity. You might dream about being late, unprepared, lost, or facing impossible tasks. Scenarios that mirror waking anxieties, but in exaggerated, sometimes surreal forms. Sleep researchers at Stanford University noted in late 2024 that stress dreams actually serve a regulatory function, allowing your brain to explore worst-case scenarios in a safe environment. By experiencing failure, embarrassment, or danger in dreams, your mind rehearses emotional responses without real-world consequences. It's a form of emotional homework, even if it feels unpleasant in the moment. The content of stress dreams often reflects your current life challenges, but rarely in literal form. You might dream about showing up to school naked, when your real anxiety is about a work presentation. You might dream about your teeth falling out when you're worried about losing control in some area of life. Dream symbolism isn't mystical. It's your brain using available imagery to represent abstract emotional states. Research in cognitive neuroscience, published in 2025, suggests that dreams pull from your memory banks to construct metaphors for feelings. Your sleeping mind doesn't think in words or logic. It thinks in images, sensations, and emotional tones. So stress becomes a visual, narrative experience that your waking mind then tries to interpret and understand. One of the most common stress dreams worldwide is the unprepared for a test dream, even decades after finishing school. A 2024 global survey conducted by sleep researchers across 15 countries found that 68% of adults report this dream type periodically, with frequency increasing during times of professional or personal uncertainty. Why does your brain return to school scenarios? Because academic testing represents a near universal experience of evaluation, judgment, and potential failure. Themes that resonate whenever you face performance anxiety in any context. Your dreaming mind isn't being uncreative by recycling old imagery. It's being efficient, reaching for readily available symbols that carry the emotional weight you're currently experiencing. School becomes shorthand for "I might not be good enough," regardless of what's actually causing that fear in your waking life. The relationship between stress and dreams isn't one-directional. While stress certainly influences dream content, emerging research from 2025 suggests dreams themselves can modulate your stress levels. When you successfully process difficult emotions through dreams, even unpleasant ones, you often wake feeling slightly better equipped to face the day. Scientists at the University of California, Berkeley found that REM sleep, particularly the dreaming component, reduces the emotional intensity of memories. Distressing experiences from yesterday feel slightly less sharp after a night of dreaming about them. Your brain essentially takes the emotional sting out of memories while preserving the informational content. This is why people often say sleep on it when facing difficult decisions. Dreams don't solve problems directly, but they do soften the emotional edges, making solutions easier to see. So yes, stress does follow you into your dreams, but it's already becoming clear this isn't a design flaw. It's a feature. Your sleeping brain continues the work your waking mind began, processing threats, rehearsing responses, and attempting to integrate overwhelming emotions into your psychological framework. The anxiety dreams you experience aren't random or meaningless. They're evidence that your mind is actively working to help you cope with the challenges you face. Over the next 90 facts, we'll explore exactly how this process unfolds, from the neurochemistry of nighttime worry to the evolutionary reasons we dream about danger, to the surprising ways your sleeping mind might be healing stress even as it seems to replay it. The journey into understanding starts here, in the strange landscape where waking worries transform into sleeping stories. Let's dive deeper into the mechanics. Your brain doesn't experience sleep as one continuous state. Instead, it cycles through approximately 90-minute periods, each containing distinct stages. In the first cycle of the night, you spend more time in deep, slow-wave sleep, the physically restorative kind. But as the night progresses, your brain shifts toward longer REM periods. Research from Johns Hopkins University in 2025 shows that by your fourth or fifth sleep cycle, near morning. REM periods can extend to 20 or even 30 minutes, far longer than the brief REM episodes earlier in the night. This means the majority of your vivid dreaming happens in the early morning hours. If you're carrying stress, those extended pre-dawn REM periods become prime time for anxiety dreams, which is why so many people report waking from stressful dreams just before their alarm goes off. During REM sleep, something fascinating happens to your body. Your voluntary muscles become temporarily paralyzed, a state called REM atonia. Your brainstem sends signals that prevent you from physically acting out your dreams. This paralysis is essential. Without it, you'd thrash around, potentially injuring yourself or others while dreaming. But this same paralysis can contribute to certain stress dreams. Have you ever dreamed of being unable to run, punch, or scream despite desperately needing to? That's your sleeping brain becoming partially aware of your body's actual immobility. The frustration of trying to move and failing gets woven into the dream narrative, often amplifying feelings of helplessness or danger. Your real-world paralysis becomes part of the dream's emotional texture, making threats feel even more inescapable. Stress affects not just whether you dream, but how you remember dreams afterward. The hippocampus, which consolidates memories, works differently during sleep than during waking hours. When you're stressed, cortisol interferes with hippocampal function, making it harder to transfer dream memories into conscious recall. This creates an interesting paradox documented in 2024. Research from the Max Planck Institute stressed individuals actually dream more, but remember fewer dreams upon waking. You might have experienced this. Waking with a strong emotional residue, a sense that you've been dreaming intensely, but unable to recall specific content. That emotional echo without narrative memory is your stress dreams leaving their mark even when the stories themselves fade like morning mist. The amygdala, your brain's almond-shaped emotional processor, plays a starring role in stress dreams. During normal waking hours, your prefrontal cortex, the rational, planning part of your brain, helps regulate amygdala activity, keeping emotional responses proportional to actual threats. But during REM sleep, your prefrontal cortex becomes relatively quiet, while your amygdala remains highly active. This creates what neuroscientists call amygdala dominance, emotional processing without rational oversight. Recent brain imaging studies from 2025 reveal that during anxiety dreams, the amygdala glows nearly 1/3 brighter than during peaceful dreams. Your emotional center working intensely through the night. Without your prefrontal cortex to say this isn't actually dangerous, your emotional brain treats dream scenarios as genuine threats. Small anxieties become magnified. Manageable worries transform into overwhelming crises. The volume on emotion gets turned way up. Interestingly, not everyone experiences stress dreams with the same intensity. Individual differences in dream anxiety relate to several factors, including baseline anxiety levels, trauma history, and even genetic variations in how your brain processes stress hormones. A longitudinal study published in Psychological Science in late 2024 followed 2,000 participants over 5 years, tracking both their daytime stress and nighttime dream patterns. Those with higher trait anxiety, meaning they're generally more anxious people, reported stress dreams 3 times more frequently than low-anxiety individuals. Even when facing similar objective stressors, your personal anxiety threshold doesn't reset at bedtime. If you're someone who worries easily during the day, your dreaming mind likely continues that pattern at night, weaving worry into the fabric of your sleep narratives. The content of stress dreams also varies by culture and personal experience. While certain themes appear universal, being chased, falling, arriving late, the specific imagery draws from your individual memory library. Someone who grew up near the ocean might dream of drowning when anxious. Someone from the mountains might dream of avalanches. A teacher might dream of students rioting. A parent might dream of losing a child in a crowd. Research from the International Association for the Study of Dreams in 2025 found that stress dreams overwhelmingly feature scenarios from your own life domains. Your brain doesn't borrow stress from unfamiliar contexts. It uses the imagery most emotionally resonant to you, pulling from your actual fears, experiences, and the environments where you've previously felt vulnerable. Sleep deprivation intensifies stress dreams in a vicious cycle. When you don't get enough sleep, stress hormones remain elevated, which makes falling asleep harder the next night, which increases stress further. But there's another mechanism at play. REM rebound is a well-documented phenomenon where, after being deprived of REM sleep, your brain compensates by spending more time in REM during subsequent sleep opportunities. That extra REM is often more intense than normal, with more vivid, more emotionally charged dreams. Research from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine in 2024 shows that after even one night of poor sleep, participants experienced a 40% increase in dream vividness and emotional intensity. If that sleep deprivation was caused by stress, you can imagine how the cycle compounds. Stress reduces sleep. Reduced sleep intensifies dreams. Intense dreams increase stress. Certain medications and substances affect stress dreams measurably. Antidepressants, particularly SSRIs, can suppress REM sleep or alter dream content. Beta blockers, often prescribed for anxiety, may reduce nightmares by dampening the body's stress response during sleep. Conversely, substances like alcohol and cannabis, which many people use to relax, actually fragment sleep architecture and can lead to more disturbing dreams during withdrawal phases later in the night. Caffeine consumed late in the day keeps stress hormones elevated into the evening. Even seemingly unrelated medications, blood pressure drugs, antibiotics, certain pain relievers, can alter neurotransmitter levels in ways that influence dream content. A comprehensive review in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine from 2025 catalogued over 150 medications known to impact dreaming, many of them increasing anxiety, dream frequency. Your sleeping environment matters more than you might think. Temperature, light, sound, and even the texture of your bedding can influence dream content. Studies from sleep laboratories in 2024 found that uncomfortable sleeping conditions, a room too warm, a mattress too firm, traffic noise outside, increase the frequency of frustration, dreams, and anxiety themes. This happens because your sleeping brain receives sensory input even while unconscious. That input gets woven into dream narratives. If you're too hot, you might dream of being trapped in a desert. If there's a siren outside, you might dream of being chased. Physical discomfort during sleep increases stress hormone release, which circles back to amplifying anxiety dreams. Creating a calm, comfortable sleep environment isn't just about falling asleep. It's about the quality of the dreams you'll have once you're there. Sleep researchers have identified specific dream characteristics that distinguish stress dreams from other types. Stress dreams tend to feature more negative emotions, more social interactions involving conflict or judgment, more scenarios where you lack control or agency, and more abrupt, disjointed scene transitions. In contrast, neutral or pleasant dreams often have more coherent narratives, more familiar settings, and more successful outcomes to challenges. A detailed analysis published in Dreaming Journal of the Association for the Study of Dreams in 2025 used AI to analyze thousands of dream reports, finding that anxiety dreams contain measurably more verbs related to escaping, hiding, searching, and failing. The language of stress dreams reveals minds attempting to flee, solve, or survive, rather than minds at rest or play. Even the grammar of how we describe our dreams reveals the underlying emotional current. There's a specific type of stress dream called mastery dreams that's particularly interesting. These are dreams where you face a challenge or threat and successfully overcome it. Research from the University of Montreal in 2024 suggests that mastery dreams serve an adaptive function, allowing you to mentally rehearse coping strategies. Athletes often report dreams of performing well before competitions. Musicians dream of flawless performances. Even people preparing for difficult conversations sometimes dream of the exchange going smoothly. These aren't wish fulfillment in the Freudian sense. They're mental simulations. Your brain running scenarios and practicing responses. The stress is still present in the dream. You're facing something challenging, but the outcome shifts. Your dreaming mind isn't just replaying problems. Sometimes it's solving them, building confidence through imagined success. Recurring stress dreams are especially meaningful. If you find yourself having the same anxiety dream repeatedly, perhaps you're always losing something important, or always arriving somewhere unprepared. Your brain is signaling that a particular emotional issue remains unresolved. Dream researchers call these persistent theme dreams, and they're far more common than most people realize. A 2025 study from Harvard Medical School found that 60% of adults report at least one recurring stress dream theme that persists for years, sometimes decades. The dream doesn't repeat because your brain is stuck or broken. It repeats because the underlying emotional issue hasn't been fully processed. Once that core anxiety is addressed in waking life, through therapy, life changes, or simply time, the recurring dream typically stops. It's as if your dreaming mind can finally check that box and move on. The timing of stress dreams within your night's sleep isn't random. Early night dreams, during the first couple of sleep cycles, tend to be more directly related to recent events. Yesterday's argument, today's deadline, this week's worry. But later night dreams, those occurring in the extended REM periods near morning, often reach deeper into memory and make stranger, more symbolic connections. Sleep scientists at the University of Arizona documented this pattern in 2024, showing that dreams become progressively more bizarre and emotionally abstract as the night continues. This might explain why morning dreams feel surreal, yet emotionally powerful. Your brain has moved beyond simply replaying recent stress. It's now integrating that stress with older memories, childhood experiences, and deep-seated emotional patterns. The later the dream, the deeper into your psychological archives it reaches, making connections your waking mind might never consciously make. Gender differences in stress dream content have been documented across multiple studies. Research published in Sleep Medicine in 2024 found that women report anxiety dreams more frequently than men, particularly dreams involving interpersonal conflict, relationship threats, and scenarios where loved ones are in danger. Men more often report stress dreams involving physical threats, performance failures, or professional challenges. These differences likely reflect both socialized gender roles, what each gender is taught to value and fear, and possibly hormonal variations. Women's dream patterns also shift across the menstrual cycle, with more frequent stress dreams occurring during the luteal phase, when progesterone drops and can affect sleep quality. Pregnancy and menopause bring their own dream changes, as hormonal fluctuations influence sleep architecture and emotional processing throughout the night. We've established that stress follows you into dreams through multiple pathways: elevated cortisol, amygdala hyperactivity, fragmented sleep architecture, and your brain's attempt to process unresolved emotional material. These aren't separate mechanisms but interconnected systems, all responding to the same signal: something in your life feels threatening, and your mind is working overtime to protect you. The anxiety dreams you experience are not failures of sleep, but evidence of deep processing. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: scan for threats, rehearse responses, and attempt to integrate difficult emotions into your existing psychological framework. The question now shifts from "why do I dream about stress?" to "what is my dreaming mind trying to accomplish?" That's where we head next, into the purpose behind the pattern, the function beneath the fear. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence, heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Now we continue. Understanding the purpose of stress dreams requires stepping back into evolutionary history. For most of human existence, the threats our ancestors faced were immediate and physical. Predators, rival tribes, environmental dangers. The brain evolved to stay vigilant, to scan constantly for threats, and to rehearse survival responses. Dreams, particularly REM dreams, provided a safe space for that rehearsal. Studies in evolutionary psychology from 2025 suggest that the same neural mechanisms that helped our ancestors practice escaping predators now help modern humans practice escaping social embarrassment, job loss, or relationship failure. The threats have changed from physical to psychological, but the brain's response system remains largely the same. Your stress dreams are ancient software running on modern problems, sometimes creating mismatches, but often still serving protective functions. One prominent theory about why we dream at all is called the threat simulation theory, proposed by researcher Antti Revonsuo and refined through decades of research. The essence of this theory is elegant and clear. Dreams function as a virtual reality simulator, where your brain can practice responding to threatening situations without real-world consequences. When you dream of being chased, you're training your threat detection and escape systems. When you dream of social humiliation, you're practicing emotional regulation under pressure. Evidence for this theory includes the fact that threatening content appears in dreams far more often than in waking life, and that people who face more real-world threats tend to have more intense practice simulations in their dreams. Recent neuroimaging studies from 2024 support this, showing that brain regions involved in threat response are indeed highly active during anxiety dreams. But there's another complementary theory called the emotional regulation theory of dreaming. This perspective, updated with new findings in 2025, suggests that dreams don't just simulate threats. They process and downregulate emotional responses to real experiences. When something stressful happens during the day, your brain encodes both the informational content, what happened, and the emotional charge, how it felt. During REM sleep, the brain works to separate these two components, preserving the memory but reducing its emotional intensity. Dreams are the vehicle for this processing. The bizarre, symbolic nature of dreams might actually be necessary for emotional regulation. By transforming literal memories into abstract narratives, your brain gains distance from the original experience, making it less emotionally overwhelming. Stress, dreams, in this view, are healing work in progress. This emotional processing function is supported by fascinating research on PTSD and trauma. People with post-traumatic stress disorder often experience intense, repetitive nightmares that replay traumatic events. For many years, clinicians thought these trauma nightmares were harmful, re-traumatizing the person each night. But recent studies from the National Center for PTSD in 2024 reveal a more nuanced picture. While nightmares are distressing, they appear to be the brain's attempt, sometimes unsuccessful, to process and integrate overwhelming emotional material. When trauma, nightmares eventually shift from literal replays to more symbolic, varied content. It often signals healing and progress. The dreaming mind is trying to take the raw, unprocessed trauma and transform it into something that can be integrated into memory without constant re-experiencing. Even painful dreams can serve healing purposes when given proper therapeutic support. The neurotransmitter balance during REM sleep is particularly suited for emotional processing. During REM, your brain measurably reduces norepinephrine, a chemical associated with stress and alertness. This reduction creates what scientists call a noradrenergic blackout. Your brain is actively processing emotional memories, but the stress chemical that would normally accompany those memories is temporarily suppressed. Research from the Center for Human Sleep Science, published in 2025, demonstrates that this unique neurochemical state allows your brain to revisit emotional content without triggering a full stress response. It's like watching a recording of something frightening with the sound turned down. You can examine it, learn from it, process it, without being overwhelmed. Dreams provide emotional exposure therapy every night, softening the impact of daytime stresses one REM cycle at a time. Not all stress dreams are created equal in their processing effectiveness. Some dreams successfully reduce emotional intensity, leaving you feeling slightly better in the morning despite dreaming about difficult content. Other dreams seem to amplify stress, and you wake feeling more anxious than when you went to sleep. What determines the difference? Research from 2024 suggests it relates to dream resolution and emotional trajectory. Dreams that progress towards some form of resolution, even if imperfect, tend to have better emotional processing outcomes than dreams that end abruptly in crisis or keep looping through the same anxious scenario without progression. Your brain seems to need some sense of narrative movement, some shift from problem to potential solution, for the processing to be effective. Unresolved stress dreams might indicate that your waking mind also lacks clear pathways forward, mirroring the stuck quality of both your daily anxiety and your nighttime narratives. Dream recall itself is influenced by stress in interesting ways. The more stressed you are when you wake up, perhaps jolted awake by an alarm during a deep dream, the more likely you are to remember that dream, particularly if it was emotionally intense. But chronic, ongoing stress can actually impair overall dream recall. Studies show that people under sustained stress report fewer dream memories across weeks or months, possibly because stress hormones interfere with the memory consolidation processes that transfer dreams from sleeping consciousness to waking awareness. This creates an odd situation where you might be dreaming more intensely than ever, your brain working overtime to process stress, but remembering less of it. The emotional residue remains. You wake feeling uneasy, but the specific dream content stays locked in sleep's archive. Sleep talking and sleep movement during dreams can actually reveal stress levels. While REM atonia typically prevents physical movement during dreams, strong emotions can sometimes break through that paralysis in minor ways. Twitching, mumbling, even brief movements. Research using polysomnography, detailed sleep measurement, from 2025 shows that people experiencing stress dreams show more muscle activation, more micro-awakenings, and more heart rate variability during REM sleep compared to those having neutral dreams. Your body responds to dream stress almost as if it's real stress, with measurable increases in heart rate, respiratory rate, and even brief cortisol spikes. Dream emotion isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Your entire body participates in the dream experience, which is why waking from an intense anxiety dream can leave you feeling genuinely exhausted, as if you've been running from something real. Lucid dreaming, becoming aware that you're dreaming while still asleep, opens fascinating possibilities for managing stress dreams. When you realize you're dreaming, you can sometimes exert control over the dream content, transforming threatening scenarios or choosing how to respond. Studies from Stanford's lucid dreaming research program in 2024 found that people trained in lucid dreaming techniques reported noticeable reductions in nightmare frequency and distress. They could literally rewrite their stress dreams in real time, practicing more adaptive responses, or simply deciding to wake up when dreams became too intense. However, lucid dreaming isn't easy to master and doesn't work for everyone. Some researchers also caution that too much dream control might interfere with the natural processing functions that uncontrolled dreams provide. Balance, as always, seems important. The concept of dream incubation takes a different approach to managing dream content. Rather than controlling dreams while they're happening, you can influence what you dream about before falling asleep. This ancient practice, documented across cultures for thousands of years, has gained renewed scientific attention. Before bed, you deliberately focus on a question, problem, or theme you'd like your dreams to explore. Research from Brigham and Women's Hospital, published in late 2024, found that targeted pre-sleep thinking can indeed influence dream content about 50% of the time. If you're stressed about something specific, thinking through it with intention before sleep, not obsessively worrying, but calmly reflecting, can help your dreaming mind process it more effectively. You're essentially setting the agenda for your brain's overnight work, guiding the stress processing towards specific issues that need attention. The relationship between sleep quality and mental health is bidirectional and powerful. Poor sleep worsens anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression disrupt sleep. Stress dreams sit right in the middle of this cycle. When your mental health declines, your stress dreams typically become more frequent and intense. When your stress dreams are severe enough to disrupt sleep, causing you to wake frequently or dread going to bed, your mental health worsens further. Breaking this cycle often requires addressing both sides simultaneously, improving sleep hygiene and addressing the underlying psychological stressors. Research from the American Psychological Association in 2025 emphasizes that treating insomnia often improves anxiety symptoms, while treating anxiety often improves sleep quality. Dreams aren't separate from mental health. They're an integral component of the system, both symptom and treatment tool depending on how they're understood and supported. Children and adolescents experience stress dreams differently than adults, partly because their brains are still developing and partly because their stressors are different. Childhood nightmares are incredibly common. Up to 75% of children report occasional frightening dreams. But research from the Society for Research in Child Development in 2024 shows that children's stress dreams tend to feature more fantastical elements, monsters, imaginary dangers, while adult stress dreams tend toward realistic scenarios, work failure, social humiliation. This shift reflects developmental changes in both threat perception and emotional regulation. As the prefrontal cortex matures through adolescence, dreams become more psychologically complex and socially focused. Interestingly, supporting children through nightmare experiences, validating their feelings without dismissing the dreams, helps develop emotional regulation skills that serve them throughout life. How we learn to process dream stress in childhood shapes how we handle it as adults. The cultural context of sleep and dreaming matters meaningfully. In many Western cultures, dreams are considered private, personal, and not particularly meaningful. But in numerous indigenous cultures, dreams are communal events, shared and interpreted collectively, seen as sources of guidance and wisdom. This cultural framing affects how people relate to stress dreams. Research in cross-cultural psychology from 2025 found that people from cultures that value dream sharing tend to report less distress from anxiety dreams compared to those from cultures where dreams are kept private. The act of expressing and receiving validation for dream experiences, being told, "That sounds difficult," or "I've had similar dreams," seems to enhance the processing function of dreams. Social support for dream experiences, something largely absent in modern Western society, might be an overlooked tool for managing stress dreams effectively. Dream journals. The practice of writing down dreams immediately upon waking have been promoted for decades, but only recently studied rigorously. A controlled study from 2024 found that keeping a dream journal for just 2 weeks increased dream recall by approximately 40%, and, interestingly, reduced the emotional intensity of stress dreams over time. The act of writing seems to serve multiple functions. It trains your brain to prioritize dream memory. It provides distance from the dream content through the shift from experiencing to observing. And it creates a record that can reveal patterns you might not otherwise notice. Seeing your stress dreams on paper, noting that you've been dreaming about similar themes for weeks, can prompt reflection on underlying issues that need addressing in waking life. We're at the midpoint of understanding now. Stress dreams aren't random electrical noise while your brain reboots. They're purposeful, even if uncomfortable. Your brain's attempt to process threats, regulate emotions, and integrate difficult experiences into your psychological framework. The ancient threat simulation systems that helped our ancestors survive now work to help us navigate modern psychological challenges. Sometimes this system works smoothly, processing stress and reducing emotional intensity. Sometimes it stumbles, creating intense nightmares that disrupt rather than restore. The effectiveness of stress dreams depends on many factors: your overall stress level, your sleep quality, your emotional regulation skills, and the support systems available for processing difficult emotions. Dreams are tools, not tormentors. Even when they feel frightening, they're almost always working in service of your well-being, trying to help you cope with a complex and often stressful world. You're still here with me, thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. Now we shift to explore specific mechanisms more deeply. One fascinating aspect of stress dreams is their relationship to memory consolidation. Your brain doesn't just store memories during sleep, it actively reorganizes them, strengthening some connections and weakening others. Stressful or emotional memories receive priority in this process. Research using neuroimaging during sleep from 2025 shows that emotionally charged memories are replayed more frequently during sleep than neutral ones. And this replay occurs specifically during the REM periods, when most dreaming happens. Your stress dreams might literally be the conscious experience of memory consolidation in action. Your brain reviewing important emotional information, integrating it with existing knowledge, and deciding how to file it for future reference. What feels like random, anxious narratives might actually be highly organized cognitive work. The hippocampus and amygdala, memory center and emotion center, engage in intricate dialogue during sleep. When you experience something stressful during the day, both regions encode it. The hippocampus records the facts, what happened, where, when. The amygdala tags it with emotional significance. This was scary. This was threatening. During sleep, particularly during dreams, these two regions replay the memory together. But gradually, with repeated replays across multiple sleep cycles, the amygdala's response diminishes while the hippocampal memory remains intact. You remember the event, but it stings less. This process, documented extensively in 2024 research, is why people often say time heals all wounds. But it's not time, it's sleep. Specifically REM sleep and the dreams that accompany it. Slowly stripping emotional charge from difficult memories. Cortisol, That stress hormone we've mentioned follows a pattern called the circadian rhythm. In healthy sleep, cortisol drops to its lowest levels around midnight, stays low through the early night, then begins rising around 4 or 5 a.m. in preparation for waking. This pre-dawn cortisol rise is natural and healthy. It helps you feel alert when you wake, but it also coincides with your longest, most intense REM periods. Some researchers suggest this timing isn't coincidental. The slight cortisol elevation during early morning REM might enhance the emotional memory processing that dreams facilitate. It provides just enough physiological arousal to engage emotional networks without overwhelming them. Your brain is essentially dosing itself with the right amount of stress hormone to process stress memories effectively. A delicate biochemical balance refined over millions of years of evolution. Temperature regulation during sleep affects dream content in subtle ways. Your core body temperature drops during sleep, reaching its lowest point in the early morning hours. This temperature drop is essential for deep sleep and appears to facilitate certain types of brain maintenance. But when temperature regulation is disrupted, if you're too hot or too cold, it can fragment sleep and increase stress dream frequency. Sleep laboratories in 2024 discovered that even small temperature variations, just 1 or 2 degrees, measurably affected dream emotionality. Being too warm was particularly associated with more intense, unpleasant dreams. This might explain why people often report worse sleep and more nightmares during heat waves or in overheated bedrooms. Your sleeping brain is exquisitely sensitive to physical conditions, weaving external sensations into internal narratives, sometimes amplifying stress in the process. The role of serotonin in sleep and dreams is intricate. Serotonin, often called a feel-good neurotransmitter, is actually highest during waking hours and drops measurably during REM sleep. This drop is necessary for dreaming to occur. High serotonin levels suppress REM sleep and reduce dream vividness. Many antidepressants work by increasing serotonin, which is why SSRI medications often suppress dreaming or reduce dream recall. People sometimes report that their dreams come back with greater intensity if they miss a dose or discontinue the medication. This relationship suggests that dreaming, particularly emotional dreaming, requires a specific neurochemical environment, one where serotonin steps back, allowing other systems to process emotions through the unique logic of dreams. Too much regulation during the day sometimes means too little processing at night. Dreams about specific types of stress follow predictable patterns. Financial anxiety often manifests as dreams of losing valuables, being robbed, or desperately searching for something precious. Relationship stress appears as dreams of betrayal, abandonment, or conflict with loved ones. Work stress becomes dreams of failure, public humiliation, or impossible tasks. Health anxiety transforms into dreams of bodily harm or decay. These patterns are consistent across cultures and documented in dream research databases containing millions of dream reports. The human brain seems to have preferred metaphors for different anxiety categories. Your dreaming mind isn't being vague or obscure. It's using a well-worn symbolic vocabulary that your waking mind intuitively understands. Even if you don't always consciously recognize the connections, the language of anxiety dreams is more universal than you might imagine. Sleep onset. The transition from waking to sleeping. is its own fascinating window into how stress affects consciousness. That drift-off period, neither fully awake nor fully asleep, is called hypnagogia, and it can include vivid imagery, fragmented thoughts, and sometimes anxiety-provoking hallucinations. When you're stressed, hypnagogic experiences often intensify. You might experience what feels like falling or jerking awake suddenly. These are called hypnic jerks, and while they're normal, they're more frequent under stress. Research from 2025 suggests these experiences might reflect your vigilance system, remaining partially active even as you try to surrender to sleep. Your brain, still scanning for threats, interprets the relaxation of falling asleep as potential danger, like falling off a cliff, and jolts you back to alertness. Even the entry into sleep becomes contested territory when anxiety is present. The relationship between screen time and stress dreams has gained attention recently. Blue light from devices suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals sleepiness, making it harder to fall asleep. But content matters too. A comprehensive study from 2024 tracked people's evening media consumption and subsequent dream content, finding strong correlations between consuming stressful or violent content before bed and experiencing stress dreams. Your brain doesn't simply shut off the stimulus when you close your eyes. It continues processing the images, narratives, and emotional tones you consumed. If the last thing you saw before bed was news about disasters, arguments on social media, or violent entertainment, your dreaming mind often continues working with those themes. Pre-sleep content primes the unconscious content that follows. What you feed your mind before sleep shapes what your mind creates during sleep. Stress dreams serve another function that's often overlooked. They reveal what you truly care about. The content of your anxiety dreams maps your emotional priorities with remarkable accuracy. If you repeatedly dream about failing at work but never dream about personal relationships, that tells you something about where your emotional investment lies. If relationship nightmares dominate while career concerns are absent, that's equally informative. Dream researcher Kelly Bulkley analyzed thousands of dream journals in 2024, finding that dream anxiety consistently pointed to waking life values and concerns, often before the dreamers themselves consciously recognized those priorities. Your dreaming mind doesn't waste energy on things that don't matter to you. Every stress dream is, in some sense, a map of your heart's territory, showing where you're vulnerable because you care. Halfway through our journey, a clear picture is emerging. Stress follows you into dreams not as punishment or malfunction, but as continuation of essential psychological work. Your dreaming mind processes threats, regulates emotions, consolidates memories, and reveals hidden priorities. The mechanisms are intricate: neurochemical shifts, brain region interactions, memory replay, symbolic transformation. But the purpose is consistent, helping you cope with a demanding world. Sometimes the process is smooth, and you wake refreshed. Sometimes it's turbulent, and you wake shaken. But even difficult dreams serve the larger project of emotional health. Understanding this doesn't make stress dreams disappear, but it can change your relationship with them. They're not enemies invading your rest. They're allies, working through the night shift, processing what your conscious mind couldn't handle alone. Now we explore what happens when this system breaks down and how it might be supported. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living, while the vast universe continues to spin, expand, change. This second you're breathing, listening, is unique. Cherish the present moment, knowing that right now, your time is unique in the universe, and we continue drifting. When stress dreams become overwhelming, they can shift into chronic nightmares, occurring more than weekly and disrupting both sleep and waking life. Studies from the Sleep Research Society in 2025 estimate that about 5% of adults experience nightmare disorder, where dreams are so intense they create fear of sleep itself. These aren't simple, unpleasant dreams, but experiences powerful enough to fragment rest and affect daytime mood. Chronic nightmares often accompany anxiety, depression, and particularly PTSD, signaling a dream processing system working overtime, struggling to manage emotional loads too heavy to process smoothly. One of the most effective treatments for chronic nightmares is called imagery rehearsal therapy. Developed in the 1990s but refined with recent research, IRT is surprisingly simple. While awake, you recall a recurring nightmare, then consciously rewrite the ending or shift the narrative towards something less distressing. You then rehearse this new version repeatedly during waking hours. Research published in 2024 shows that this technique reduces nightmare frequency by 50 to 70% for many people. Your brain, practiced at imagining a better outcome while awake, begins generating that outcome during sleep instead. Conscious intervention reshapes unconscious experience. A powerful demonstration that dreams, while automatic, aren't unchangeable. Sleep position might influence dream content in subtle ways. Research is still preliminary, but a 2024 study from Hong Kong found that people sleeping on their backs reported more nightmares, possibly because this position can sometimes restrict breathing, creating sensations that filter into dream narratives. Stomach sleeping showed the highest rates of unusual dream themes, possibly because it can restrict breathing or create pressure sensations that the sleeping brain interprets. While sleep position isn't a primary driver of stress dreams, it's one of many small factors that can influence the content and emotional tone of your nighttime narratives. The gut-brain connection influences dreams more than previously recognized. Your digestive system and brain communicate constantly through the vagus nerve and various chemical signals. Eating large meals close to bedtime increases metabolism and body temperature, both of which can fragment sleep and influence dreaming. A comprehensive review in the Journal of Sleep Research from 2025 found associations between certain foods, particularly spicy, heavy, or sugary foods, and increased dream vividness or disturbed sleep when consumed within 3 hours of bedtime. Your sleeping brain receives signals from your digesting stomach, and those signals become part of the information your dreaming mind weaves into its narratives. Certain medical conditions affect stress dreams measurably. Sleep apnea, which causes repeated breathing pauses during sleep, is strongly associated with nightmares and anxiety dreams. The experience of not being able to breathe naturally creates dream panic. Restless leg syndrome, which causes uncomfortable sensations and movement urges, can create dreams of frustration or being trapped. Chronic pain conditions increase stress, dream frequency, as the brain attempts to process both physical discomfort and the emotional burden of ongoing pain. Physical health and mental health aren't separate. Your body's state during sleep becomes content for your dreaming mind to interpret, sometimes creating additional layers of distress. Napping and stress dreams have an interesting relationship. Short naps, under 30 minutes, typically don't include REM sleep and therefore don't produce vivid dreams. But longer naps, especially those over 60 to 90 minutes, can include REM cycles and produce intense, sometimes stressful dreams. People often report that nap dreams feel more bizarre and emotionally intense than nighttime dreams. This happens because nap REM sleep lacks the full architectural context of nighttime sleep. You're entering REM without the preceding deep sleep stages that normally prepare the brain. If you're napping to escape daytime stress, longer naps might paradoxically introduce more stress through unsettling dreams. The phenomenon of sleep paralysis deserves attention in the context of stress dreams. Sleep paralysis occurs when you become conscious while your body is still in REM atonia, awake enough to perceive your surroundings, but unable to move. This creates a terrifying experience, often accompanied by hallucinations or a sense of presence in the room. Research from 2025 shows that stress measurably increases sleep paralysis frequency, likely because stress fragments sleep architecture, making these transition states more likely. Understanding that it's a temporary overlap between waking consciousness and REM paralysis, not a supernatural experience, can reduce the anxiety it causes, though that knowledge doesn't make the experience less frightening in the moment. Alcohol and sleep dance in an intricate pattern that impacts dreaming measurably. Initially, alcohol acts as a sedative, helping people fall asleep faster. But as your body metabolizes the alcohol through the night, it causes a rebound effect, increased arousal, lighter sleep, and more frequent awakenings. REM sleep is particularly suppressed during the early night when alcohol is active, then rebounds intensely in the later night. This REM rebound creates more vivid, often more disturbing dreams. Studies from addiction research institutes in 2024 found that people who drink regularly before bed report higher rates of nightmares and stress dreams, particularly in the hours before waking. Cannabis, increasingly used for sleep, shows similar patterns. THC can reduce REM sleep, and regular users often report dreaming less or not at all. But when cannabis use stops, whether intentionally or due to unavailability, REM sleep rebounds dramatically, bringing what users describe as extraordinarily vivid, often disturbing dreams. This REM rebound can last weeks after cessation. Research published in Drug and Alcohol Dependence in 2024 documented this pattern extensively, noting that the intense dreams during cannabis withdrawal often contribute to relapse. As users return to the substance, partly to escape the overwhelming dream experiences, exercise timing affects sleep and dreams in measurable ways. Regular exercise generally improves sleep quality and can reduce anxiety, which indirectly reduces stress dream frequency. But intense exercise too close to bedtime can elevate core body temperature and stress hormones, making it harder to fall asleep and potentially increasing sleep fragmentation. Research from sports medicine institutes in 2025 suggests finishing vigorous exercise at least 3 to 4 hours before bed for optimal sleep. Moderate morning or afternoon exercise showed the strongest positive effects on sleep quality and dream content. People reported feeling more rested and having fewer anxiety dreams. Physical activity helps regulate the stress systems that influence dreaming. But timing matters. Social stress, relationship conflicts, work tensions, loneliness appears in dreams differently than physical stress. Research analyzing dream content across thousands of reports found that social stress generates dreams with more characters, more dialogue, more interpersonal conflict, and more involved emotional dynamics. Physical stress, or danger, produces dreams with more action, more environmental threats, more focus on survival. This distinction reflects how different brain networks activate depending on stress type. Your dreaming brain doesn't just replay stress generically. It specifically activates the neural systems relevant to the particular challenges you're facing, creating appropriately themed narratives for different forms of anxiety. Seasonal variations in sleep and dreaming have been documented across latitudes. In winter months, particularly in northern regions with limited daylight, people report longer sleep duration, more REM sleep, and often more intense dreams. Research from Scandinavian sleep centers in 2024 suggests that extended winter darkness increases melatonin duration, which in turn lengthens total sleep time and expands the window for REM dreaming. This seasonal variation also correlates with seasonal affective disorder, where winter depression is common. The relationship between light, mood, and dreaming forms an intricate system, affecting how we process stress throughout the year. Pregnancy brings profound changes to dreaming. Hormonal fluctuations, physical discomfort, and psychological preparation for parenthood all influence dream content. Research on pregnant individuals' dreams from 2025 found that anxiety dreams intensify throughout pregnancy, particularly in the third trimester. Common themes include fears about the baby's health, concerns about parenting ability, and dreams where babies are in danger or forgotten. While distressing, these dreams likely serve an adaptive function, mentally preparing for the enormous responsibility of parenthood, working through fears, and activating caregiving neural systems. The emotional intensity of pregnancy dreams can be overwhelming, but they're nearly universal and typically resolve after birth. Aging changes sleep architecture and dreaming in predictable ways. Older adults typically experience less deep sleep, more frequent awakenings, and shorter but often more frequent REM periods. This fragmentation can affect dream processing. However, research from gerontology sleep studies in 2024 found that older adults often report less distress from anxiety dreams compared to younger adults, even when dream content is objectively similar. This might reflect improved emotional regulation that comes with age, or perhaps a lifetime of experience processing difficult emotions makes dreams feel less threatening. Dreams adapt to the emotional needs of each life stage. We now understand that stress dreams exist within an intricate regulatory system involving brain chemistry, sleep architecture, emotional processing, memory consolidation, and multiple feedback loops connecting mind and body. When this system functions well, stress dreams serve adaptive purposes, processing threats, regulating emotions, integrating difficult experiences. When dysregulated by chronic stress, trauma, sleep disorders, or substances. The system can generate nightmares that cause more harm than healing. Dreams aren't separate from mental health. They're an integral component. Improving sleep often improves emotional well-being. Addressing psychological stress improves sleep. Supporting the dream processing system can break negative cycles and restore dreams to their natural healing function. Meditation and mindfulness practices show promising effects on stress, dreams. Regular meditation practitioners report fewer nightmares and less emotional reactivity to dream content. A 2024 study examining brain scans of experienced meditators found that their amygdala showed less reactivity, not just during waking hours, but also during REM sleep. Meditation essentially trains the brain to respond to emotional stimuli, including dream content, with more equanimity and less panic. The prefrontal cortex, strengthened through meditation practice, maintains slightly more influence even during REM sleep's typical prefrontal quieting. This doesn't eliminate stress dreams, but it seems to moderate them, reducing their intensity and the distress they cause. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, called CBT-I, is considered the first-line treatment for sleep disorders and often reduces nightmare frequency as a secondary benefit. CBT-I targets the thoughts, behaviors, and environmental factors that perpetuate poor sleep. By improving sleep efficiency, the percentage of time in bed actually spent sleeping, it indirectly improves dream quality. Research from 2025 shows that people who complete CBT-I report not just sleeping better, but dreaming better. Fewer nightmares, less sleep disruption from dreams, and greater sense of control over their sleep experience. The cognitive restructuring component helps people change anxious thoughts about sleep itself. The relationship between creativity and dreams has fascinated researchers for decades. Many artists, scientists, and inventors report that dreams provide inspiration or solutions to problems they've been working on. This connection likely relates to the unique associative logic of dreaming. During REM sleep, your brain makes loose, unexpected connections between disparate memories and concepts. Connections that waking consciousness, bound by stricter logic, might never make. While stress dreams feel unpleasant, they're still engaging this same creative, associative process. Even anxiety dreams demonstrate your brain's remarkable creative capacity, constructing entire narrative worlds, complete with characters, dialogue, and plot twists, all generated from memory and emotion. Dream sharing practices, whether with a therapist, partner, or dream group, can enhance the healing potential of stress dreams. When you articulate a dream to another person, several things happen. You gain distance from the dream through the act of describing it. You receive external perspective that might reveal meanings you missed. And you experience emotional validation that reduces the dream's distressing impact. Research on dream-focused therapy from 2024 found that patients who regularly discussed their dreams with therapists showed faster improvement in anxiety symptoms compared to those receiving similar therapy without dream discussion. Dreams processed in relationship become less burdensome than dreams processed alone. Sleep hygiene. The practices and environmental conditions that promote good sleep measurably affects dream quality. A cool, dark, quiet bedroom optimizes sleep architecture. allowing smoother transitions between sleep stages and more efficient REM processing. Consistent sleep and wake times strengthen circadian rhythms, improving the neurochemical environment for healthy dreaming. Limiting screens before bed reduces blue light exposure and emotional stimulation that might prime anxiety dreams. A comprehensive review from 2025, analyzing sleep hygiene interventions, found that even basic improvements, making the room darker, keeping it cooler, establishing consistent sleep times, reduced nightmare frequency by an average of 30%. Small environmental changes support the intricate neural processes that govern dreaming. The concept of sleep debt, accumulated sleep deprivation over time, affects dreaming powerfully. You can't simply catch up on sleep with one long night after a week of short nights. The body does attempt to recover, often through intense REM rebound. But this can create exhausting, emotionally overwhelming dreams rather than restful ones. Your dreaming brain, working overtime to process a backlog of unprocessed emotional material, can feel almost frantic. This is why people sometimes report that sleeping more leaves them feeling more tired. Consistent, adequate sleep prevents this backlog from accumulating, allowing dream processing to proceed at a manageable, healthy pace rather than in overwhelming bursts. Pre-sleep routines matter more than many people realize. Your brain needs transition time between waking activity and sleep. A consistent wind-down routine, perhaps reading, gentle stretching, meditation, or quiet conversation, signals to your nervous system that it's time to shift gears. This transition affects not just sleep onset, but dream content. People with chaotic, rushed bedtimes report more fragmented, stressful dreams compared to those with calm, consistent pre-sleep routines. Your nervous system's state as you enter sleep colors the neural context for dreaming. Entering sleep already calm and settled allows for gentler dream processing and more restorative sleep overall. Psychotherapy approaches specifically targeting nightmares have evolved meaningfully. Beyond imagery, rehearsal therapy, there's exposure, relaxation, and rescripting therapy, and nightmare-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. These approaches share common elements, reducing fear of sleep and dreams, practicing relaxation, and actively working with dream content to shift patterns. Research comparing different nightmare treatments from 2024 found that most evidence-based approaches achieve similar success rates. Typically, 50 to 70% reduction in nightmare frequency and distress. The specific technique matters less than consistent practice and therapeutic support. What's most important is that people recognize nightmares aren't something to simply endure. Effective treatments exist. The dreaming system, when supported properly, can shift toward healthier patterns. The future of dream science looks increasingly sophisticated. Researchers are developing AI systems that can decode dream content from brain activity with growing accuracy. Studies from 2025 have achieved limited success in predicting general dream themes. Social interaction versus physical activity. Positive versus negative emotion. Based on neural patterns during REM sleep. This technology is years away from practical application, but it raises fascinating possibilities. Could we someday monitor dream content to assess mental health? Could we intervene in nightmares as they occur? Perhaps with targeted audio cues or gentle sensory input. These questions remain speculative, but they suggest that dream science is moving toward potentially therapeutic applications. We've reached another milestone in understanding. Stress dreams are neither meaningless brain static nor mystical messages from beyond. They're functional components of an intricate emotional regulation system. Your brain's attempt to process, integrate, and reduce the intensity of stressful experiences. Sometimes this system works beautifully, and you wake feeling mysteriously better despite dreaming about difficulties. Sometimes it struggles, and nightmares disrupt rather than restore. But the system can be supported. Good sleep hygiene, stress management, emotional processing during waking hours, therapy when needed, and sometimes medication all help dreams fulfill their natural function. The goal isn't to eliminate stress dreams entirely. That's neither possible nor desirable. The goal is supporting your dreaming mind's natural ability to heal. Almost done. Relax even deeper. Did you know most matter, from a grain of sand to a star, is empty space? Atoms are mostly empty space between nucleus and electrons. Even your body is more space than matter. So let go. Let all pressure, all worry dissolve. Like dust particles floating, drifting in the immense universe. We'll continue with the final facts. The deepest truth about stress dreams might be this: they prove you're not broken. Your dreaming mind is working exactly as designed, attempting to protect you by processing threats. Even when dreams feel chaotic or frightening, they demonstrate a healthy system, actively engaged in emotional regulation. The presence of stress dreams doesn't indicate failure. Your dreams, uncomfortable as they sometimes are, show a mind that hasn't given up, that's still fighting to integrate difficult experiences, still working toward emotional balance and psychological health. Consider this: every human who has ever lived has experienced dreams. Ancient texts describe them. Cave paintings might depict them. Dreaming is fundamental to human consciousness, shared across all cultures and times. When you have a stress dream, you participate in something profoundly universal, a nightly ritual billions of humans experience, each processing their unique anxieties through the strange, creative logic of sleep. Your dream worries connect you to sleepers across the world. Dreams dissolve the boundaries we maintain while awake. In dreams, past and present blend. Impossible things occur naturally. You might be simultaneously adult and child, present in multiple places, speaking with people long gone. This dissolution of usual categories might be precisely what allows emotional processing. Rigid boundaries and logical consistency sometimes trap us in fixed emotional patterns. Dreams, by breaking those rules, allow for new combinations, fresh perspectives, and healing connections that waking logic would reject. The moment of waking from a dream holds particular poignancy. For a few seconds, you exist between worlds, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. The dream still vivid, reality still uncertain. In that liminal space, insights sometimes arise that vanish with full waking. Many cultures consider this threshold sacred, a time when the barrier between conscious and unconscious thins. Even stress dreams, recalled in that gentle, awakening moment, sometimes reveal truths. Your relationship with your own dreams can become either adversarial or cooperative. If you approach dreams with curiosity rather than judgment, with willingness to listen rather than dismiss, they often become less frightening. Dreams don't speak in declarations. They speak in questions, suggestions, symbolic offerings. Even a nightmare might be asking, what am I so afraid of? What do I need to face? Approached as messages from your own deep mind. Even difficult dreams can become sources of self-knowledge. Children instinctively understand that dreams matter. They wake from nightmares seeking comfort, wanting to tell someone what they experienced. As adults, we often lose that instinct, dismissing dreams as just dreams. But perhaps children are wiser. Perhaps dreams do deserve attention, conversation, and the comfort of being witnessed by another. The childhood understanding that dreams are important experiences worthy of care might be more psychologically healthy than the adult tendency to immediately forget them. Some nights, your dreams will frighten you. That's simply true. But frightening doesn't mean harmful. Fear in dreams serves the same function as fear in waking, alerting you to perceived threats, mobilizing responses, teaching caution. The fear itself, while unpleasant, demonstrates a functioning protective system. You can learn to recognize dream fear as information rather than danger, as your emotional brain doing its job rather than as evidence that something is wrong with you. Sleep is vulnerable time. For our ancestors, sleeping meant potential danger from predators or enemies. Perhaps anxiety dreams reflect ancient vigilance systems that never fully shut down, continuing to scan for threats even in sleep. In modern life, the predators are psychological: rejection, failure, loss, humiliation. But your dreaming mind, using ancient tools, still attempts to protect you from harm, translating psychological threats into narrative language, keeping watch through the night. There's poetry in the idea that your mind cares enough about you to work through your problems even while you sleep. You don't have to consciously direct this process. You simply rest, and your dreaming mind takes over, sorting, processing, attempting to heal. This isn't laziness. It's trust. Trusting your unconscious mind to do its work. Trusting that rest includes this deeper work. Trusting that healing happens even when you're not actively trying. Dreams eventually fade from memory, even vivid ones. This fading is natural, probably necessary. If we retained every dream with waking clarity, our minds would be cluttered with twice as many experiences as we actually lived. The selective forgetting of dreams allows the emotional processing to complete while the detailed narrative dissolves. You keep what matters, the emotional resolution, the shifted perspective, and release what doesn't. The specific, bizarre plot details that served their purpose. Imagine accepting dreams as they arrive, not forcing pleasantness, not judging their strangeness, simply receiving them like weather patterns passing through consciousness, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, always temporary. This acceptance doesn't mean surrendering all effort toward better sleep. It means releasing the extra layer of suffering that comes from fighting natural processes. Let dreams be what they are. Support them gently. Trust that your sleeping mind knows its work. Your conscious mind creates the life you live during the day. Your unconscious mind creates the life you live during dreams. Both are you. Both deserve recognition. The day self sets goals, makes plans, solves problems through logic and effort. The night self processes emotions, makes unexpected connections, and works through what the day self couldn't fully handle. These aren't opposing forces, but complementary aspects of one integrated system. Your whole self, working toward well-being. There's no such thing as a person who doesn't experience stress. Life inherently includes challenge, loss, uncertainty, and change. Since stress is universal, stress dreams are universal too. Rather than seeing them as problems to eliminate, perhaps we can understand them as natural companions to being alive and conscious. Part of how human minds cope with human experiences. Everyone lying down to sleep tonight will dream, and many of those dreams will touch on worry or fear. Dreams ask nothing of you. They don't require action, response, or even understanding. They simply occur, offering their strange narratives, and dissolve with morning. Whatever stress or fear they contained doesn't bind you to anything. You can take what seems useful, insight, catharsis, warning, and leave the rest without consequence. Dreams are offerings, not demands. They present possibilities, reflections, and emotional explorations, but you remain free to simply witness them without obligation. So could stress follow you into dreams? It already has, countless times. For every person who's ever slept, the question isn't whether stress appears in dreams, but what that appearance means. And the answer we've found is it means your mind is working, processing, attempting to cope with difficult realities through the only method available during sleep: the symbolic, emotional, associative logic of dreams. It's not a flaw, it's function. Your stress dreams are evidence of a mind that refuses to give up. Sometimes, healing looks like struggle. The dream where you can't run, can't scream, can't escape, feels terrible. But your mind is working through helplessness in the safety of sleep, exploring that feeling without real danger. Sometimes healing looks like repetition, the same theme appearing night after night until something shifts. Sometimes healing looks like chaos, strange narratives that make no surface sense but create new emotional connections beneath consciousness. Your waking life and dream life are not separate. They're continuous, each informing the other. Stress from your day shapes your night. Processing from your night affects your next day. Improving one improves the other. Managing daytime stress reduces nighttime anxiety. Addressing nightmares improves daytime mood. The boundary between waking and sleeping consciousness is more permeable than it appears. Care for both. What you do before sleep matters. How you interpret dreams upon waking matters. Let's return to something simple: breath. In dreams, you often breathe differently. Sometimes not at all. Sometimes underwater. Sometimes struggling for air. But here, now, you can feel your actual breath, steady and calm. This breath continues regardless of dream content. It anchors you. Even in the middle of a nightmare, your real breath continues. Your real heart beats. Your body remains safe. The breath is always more real than the dream. Stress dreams will likely continue as long as you live, but your relationship with them can change. What once seemed threatening might become familiar. What felt overwhelming might become manageable. What appeared meaningless might reveal layers of meaning, not through forced interpretation or intellectual analysis, but through simple, repeated experience. Having thousands of dreams over your lifetime gradually developing wisdom about your own sleeping mind's patterns, preferences, and ways of processing difficulties. Here's a final paradox. Trying too hard to control dreams often makes them worse. The anxiety about having anxiety dreams becomes another source of stress, feeding the cycle. Perhaps the wisest approach is gentle attention without force. Care about sleep quality without obsessing about dream content. Notice patterns without demanding they change. Support your mind's natural processing without trying to micromanage it. Trust that your sleeping mind, like your waking mind, is doing its best. When you wake tomorrow, the content of tonight's dreams will likely fade quickly, but the emotional work they accomplished will remain, integrated into your psychological framework in ways you may never consciously recognize. This is how dreams work. Visible narratives that dissolve. Invisible processing that endures. The story doesn't matter as much as the emotional shift it enabled. Let the stories go. Keep the healing. Trust that your mind knows how to sort what should stay. Your dreams belong to you alone. No one else can dream your particular dreams, weaving your specific memories, emotions, and concerns into their unique narratives. Even if dream themes are universal, your version is singular. This privacy of dreaming is sacred in its way, a space entirely your own, where external judgment cannot reach, where your mind can be completely honest about fears it might hide during waking hours. The real change stress dreams offer isn't in the external world, but in your internal one. They don't solve problems directly. You still have to face whatever caused the stress, but they can shift your emotional relationship to those problems, making them slightly more bearable, slightly less overwhelming. That internal shift, though subtle, matters enormously. It's the difference between being consumed by anxiety and being able to function despite it, between drowning and learning to swim. We're nearly done now. You've traveled through the science and poetry of stress dreams, the mechanisms and the meaning, the neuroscience and the narratives. You've learned that your anxiety dreams, uncomfortable as they are, represent healthy function rather than dysfunction, processing rather than pathology. You've discovered that these strange nighttime experiences connect you to something profoundly human, the universal need to make sense of difficult emotions, to integrate challenging experiences, to find meaning in fear, and ultimately, to heal. The ultimate answer is this: stress follows you into dreams, because dreams are where unfinished emotional business gets processed. Your sleeping mind continues the work your waking mind began, using different tools: symbolism instead of logic, emotion instead of reason, narrative instead of analysis. This isn't a design flaw, but an elegant solution how to process overwhelming experiences without being overwhelmed. Dreams create distance while maintaining connection, allowing you to work through stress without drowning in it. They're strange, often uncomfortable, but ultimately gifts. Messages saying, "I'm still working on healing you." And so, our quiet journey through the landscape of stress and dreams comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the neuroscience of nighttime worry to the healing potential of restful sleep, discovering along the way that dreams aren't enemies, but allies. From scattered fears to integrated understanding, we've glimpsed how consciousness itself continues its work even in darkness. Stress dreams remind us that healing happens in layers, often invisible to conscious awareness. Much of our psychological recovery occurs in silence, in sleep, in the strange narratives our minds create when logic steps aside. Dreams reveal patience. The mind's persistent attempt to integrate what feels overwhelming, demonstrating resilience we rarely acknowledge while awake. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about consciousness itself, yours, mine, everyone listening, all awareness, everywhere, perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. If this thoughtful exploration of the mind made you relax, fall asleep, or sparked curiosity tonight, a gentle like and subscribe helps other sleepless souls discover this peaceful space too. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now, nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, deeper into the mystery of your own mind than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of dreams and stress to fade now, like morning mist dissolving into warm daylight, leaving only peaceful calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if sinking gently into soft earth. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a slow river, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where time and worry no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your dreams will still be there. Your mind will still be working through whatever needs processing. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy friend. And remember, even your most anxious dreams are proof that your mind hasn't stopped caring, hasn't stopped trying to heal you, hasn't stopped working toward the peace you deserve. Dream deeper with bedtime science. Good night.